Unmuted.
Thank you for your patience. We are waiting on some more members to have quorum. It'll be just a moment. Thank you very much.
Muted. Unmuted.
This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. First and foremost, we would like to thank everyone and ask for your patience during this difficult time we have been presented with. Everyone, please remember to silence any electronics to avoid sound interruption. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. In accordance with Section 418.016 of the Texas Government Code and by order of the Office of the Governor, issued March 16, 2020, the City of Socorro City Council broadcasts the meeting scheduled today, February 4th, 2021, at 6 p.m. from council chambers located at 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, via telephone conference and live stream in order to advance the public health goal and practice social distancing to slow the spread of coronavirus, also known as COVID 19. The public that signed up and any presenters will be called upon by the presiding officer during the meeting to speak during the public comment or their agenda item following Government Code 551.042. La reunión del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Primeramente, queremos darle las gracias y pedimos su paciencia durante estos momentos críticos que enfrentamos. Favor de poner en silencio todo equipo electrónico para evitar interrupción de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionado. De acuerdo con sección 418.016 del Código del Gobierno de Texas y por orden de la Oficina del Gobernador, anunciada el 16 de marzo del 2020, el Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro transmitirá su reunión hoy, jueves 4 de febrero del 2021 a las 6 de la tarde, desde la sala del Concilio localizada en 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, por medio de teléfono y será transmitido en vivo para avanzar en el objetivo de salud pública y practicar el distanciamiento social para tomar medidas preventivas para prevenir la propagación del coronavirus, conocida como el COVID-19, a los demás y por la seguridad del público. El público y los presentadores serán anunciados por el oficial conduciendo la reunión para poder hablar durante la sección de comentario público o después de la discusión del artículo de la agenda por cual se apuntaron, siguiendo las reglas del gobierno 551.042.
Thank you for your patience. It is now 6:18. This meeting is called to order. Ms. Rodarte, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 3, establishment of quorum.
Ruben Reyes, Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar
Sorry.
Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos,
Present.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Item number 4, public comments.
Mayor, we have several speakers for this, for public comment. Our first speaker is Diana Nunez.
Hi, good afternoon. First off, I would like to thank everyone and City Council for your support on passing an agenda item on December 17th. Essentially, the agenda item was for discussion and action on 184 Santa Paula Drive to see what can be done on implementing safety measures due to multiple accidents. Now, with that in mind, I would like to ask for support in making this a priority item. Now, I've been doing some research, and even before I moved here 3 years ago, there's been multiple accidents to other residents, to other homes, other property. So now it's a matter of like a neighborhood. It's no longer, 184 Santa Paula, it's Santa Paula as a whole as a neighborhood. Now, I understand that the city has an abundance of needs, and I see a lot of that's already being done as far as paving roads, you name it. Now, but given that this specifically is no longer just for the household. It's not just in the public's best, their best interest. It turns into a matter of public safety. I do hope that I get, some assistance on making that a priority over anything over street pavements, street improvements, that sort of thing. I do have a couple of other things I want to mention, but I'll go ahead and mention those under agenda item number 18.
Alejandro Garcia. Mr. Garcia, you have 3
First,
minutes.
I'd like to apologize. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to apologize to Mr. Ralph Duran. You're right. You only sued the city once. You settled twice before. So the city fought the last one. So you sued because you didn't get what you wanted. So that kind of sucks, but whatever. I would appreciate if you stop taking taxpayer money. I also emailed Dr. Gonzalez and Senator Cesar Blanco about your comment about behind the scenes, Mr. Duran, on last meetings. That kind of is unethical and non-transparent to us as constituents here, and that's not good for all of us. Mrs. Avalos and Ms. Colombia Lobos, your walking material stated, Mr. Gandara Sr., former SISD trustee, used influence with the school board to secure and retrain lucrative health services contracts from Access Health. As of mayor in 2010, I'm sorry, he also became the first elected official in the county to be recalled by voters. So if you flip that and you say Ms. Avalos, Ms. Colombia Lobos, and I hope former mayor and city council use their position in the city of Socorro to secure and restrain lucrative paving of streets for yourself and Ms. Friday as council members in 2021, you'll be the second and third elected officials in the county to be recalled for these favors that you're trying to pass today. So I hope that we have some heroes on this council that will reject this because this is a favor and a lucrative deal for themselves. Thank you.
Pablo Barrera. Mr. Barrera, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I still want to address the light pole issue. I was trying to address your guys' concerns and questions that you guys had last time regarding the light pole, our light poles here in the Las Lunas subdivision. It's still an ongoing issue with vehicles still coming here conducting their illegal contraband deals, their self-pleasures that they come and do here. And, when I walk to the canal or whatever, you see a lot of that contraband thrown on the floor. You see condoms thrown on the floor, and when they dry out, it gets windy. It gets thrown onto my property. The city doesn't come and pick it up. Unfortunately, I have to wear gloves and pick that stuff up, and it's a health issue. So putting the light pole would be a very huge deterrent for all this illegal activity or anything else that is going on here. And I think that's all the neighborhood wants is just our safety. Nobody wants to get hurt by an illegal transaction that has gone wrong. So I would hope that you guys would see that and bring this back to the agenda and put the light pole back up. And it's for your public, Mr. Duran. It's for your district. I would hope that you would be advocating stronger for this, especially that it's a safety and it's a health concern. So I hope you guys bring this back up to the agenda next time.
Rene Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, you have 3 minutes. Rene Rodriguez. We'll go to our next speaker, Terry Serna. Ms. Serna, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to comment on the lack of lighting in the Los Lunas edition, specifically on Half Moon Pass and Chris Ford. That corner has been extremely just unlit in we've noticed that there is a whole bunch of unwanted, possibly illegal activity just due to the low visibility. And it is a safety concern, especially for the children, the elderly. This is a neighborhood. There's families out here. And my father, he's 94 years old, and there's children all over the place. And in addition to the street light, just it would be a deterrent for any of the illegal activity that's already been mentioned. And it'd be great if we could address this.
René Rodríguez.
Can you guys hear me now?
Mr. Rodriguez, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. The reason for my call is because last meeting you guys were talking about having the subordinates give you some input on it. Mr. Duran, I don't understand, since you're being a business owner like myself, how in the hell could you have an input on your performance for your employees? I mean, we write them up all the time, so I don't understand that, not that decision, or even you're trying to implement it. I mean, it is your job, all of you in council, to make sure that she's doing what she needs to be done, because it's under your tutelage. You're the one that sets standards, you're the one that sets parameters, and she has to abide by those, not their subordinates. And that's all I gotta say.
Miriam Cruz. Ms. Cruz, you have 3 minutes.
No, I was waiting to be unmuted. I have two comments. The first one, I wanted to remind council, excuse me, there was a comment that I made a few months ago about, and maybe I've made it twice now, about moving up items when people are signed up to speak on them. I think there have been multiple meetings now where people have signed up for items, and you never know. Maybe they don't want to speak on it anymore, and or maybe they got disconnected. Maybe it took too long, and I think it's far less engaging to obviously have the meetings like we're having them now. But obviously, it's understandable why we're having the meetings like we're having them now, via online and over the phone. But I think it's important that I know that that preference is given to when we have attorneys or speakers or special guests or representatives from other districts or whoever. I know that they get preference, and items usually get moved up, and or if someone requests for the items to get moved up. But I think it makes more sense, especially so that people don't get forgotten that they were going to speak on an item. If all items, if all agenda items that someone has signed up to speak on, if all of those can be taken up, so that people aren't waiting, sometimes hours to be able to speak on something, especially if it's, one of the items that's towards the end of the agenda. I just wanted to reiterate that comment, and hopefully you guys can implement that today. And my second comment is in regards to what Mr. Rodriguez just said. In all honesty, I believe that people that do have day-to-day contact with anyone should be evaluating that person. And I'm not speaking specifically to Ms. Rolarte because personal experience, I know she does a good job, but I think it is important to get anonymous submissions, evaluations from everyone that works with her, so that because city council only has a certain amount of connection or communication with her. So I think it is important for all subordinates, anyone who has contact with her, works with her, to be able to give us that evaluation anonymously, and then the city council is just going to use it as a factor. It's obviously it's not going to be a determining factor. It's one of many factors that you all will use. So I look forward to listening to what type of evaluation you guys are going to choose to use, because I think it's important to have one in place, and it's important to have one moving forward. Obviously, there should have been one already in place. So I look forward to listening to the final product. Thank you.
Mayor, those were all our speakers.
Thank you. Now, before we begin our presentation, I wanted to take a moment to provide an update on the city of Socorro's COVID-19 response. I would like to acknowledge the pain and the sacrifice that the Socorro community has endured through this COVID-19 pandemic. Since the start of COVID-19 pandemic, we have as a community taken responsible steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Socorro was the first municipality in the county to adopt masks in public places without hesitation. Everywhere you went, you saw Socorro men, women, and children donning their masks and staying 6 feet apart. This initial effort helped to keep the number of active COVID-19 cases low in our community. To date, Socorro's cumulative COVID-19 cases are still lower than those of communities around us, even after adjusting for population. Nonetheless, we have lost jobs, have lost homes, and we have lost loved ones. We cannot lose hope, and we cannot lose our drive to move forward. The city of Socorro has fought for our community's allocation of federal dollars to address the COVID-19 pandemic at the local level. We have partnered with the Lift Fund and delivered over 300,000 in relief aid to Socorro small businesses. We have partnered with the Lower Valley Water District to assist residents who have endured difficulties in paying their water utility bill. We have coordinated with the Office of Emergency Management and Department of Public Health to abide to all public health requirements and to communicate all updates with our city administration, law enforcement, and elected officials. At this point, we are exploring various partnerships to obtain vaccination services within our city, as well as the possibility of a temporary vaccination facility. We will continue to communicate with the Office of Emergency Management, Department of Public Health, and our local partners to ensure that our efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic are as responsive to our community's needs as possible. With that being said, I would like to introduce the Honorable El Paso County Commissioner Ileana Holguin to present on COVID-19.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address you tonight. I don't have a formal presentation. More than anything, I wanted to introduce myself to you all and welcome those of you that are new to the Council, and also make sure that you all had information on the newest initiatives at the county level, and of course, be able to answer any questions that any of you may have. And lastly, to give you my contact information so that you or any of the residents of Socorro can contact me with any issues or concerns or questions or more information about the updates that I wanted to give today. So basically, I'm going to touch on three things. As the mayor mentioned, since she was just speaking about COVID, I'll go ahead and start. Well, really, all three do deal with COVID. But speaking directly to the mayor's comments regarding the vaccination efforts, one of the updates that I wanted to give was regarding our mobile unit that UMC has recently acquired. I'm not sure if everyone saw in the news, but earlier in January, we unveiled this mobile unit, which was purchased with CARES Act funding that the county provided to UMC. And the primary goal of the mobile unit is specifically to go out into the rural outlying areas of the county to provide very necessary medical services. Now, it can be used for a multitude of things. Of course, right now our priority is vaccinations, but it will also be used for testing. It can also be used for non-COVID related items like labs and other types of medical examinations. But of course, for now, we all know that we are all very, very, very anxious about getting as many members of our community vaccinated as we possibly can. So I just wanted to give that update regarding the mobile unit. So we expect that it's actually going to start going out into the county a little bit later this month. We're hoping for by about mid-February, the mobile unit will be going out into the county. In the meantime, one of the things that UMC is doing is actually going to be able to offer vaccines out of the Fabens clinic. So we really wanted to try to make sure we were getting to folks out in the outlying areas. And since we already have a clinic in Fabens, what UMC has been able to do is dedicate a certain amount of vaccines to that clinic. We're going to start by vaccinating the elderly individuals that are already registered with the hospital districts or already listed as patients, and then from there, building onto that to get to other individuals within the community. So we're hoping that that's going to make a huge difference and make the vaccines much more accessible to folks that live outside of the city of El Paso. So that's something that we're very, very excited about. And I'll, of course, keep you all updated about that. Another item that I wanted to mention, and again, also related to COVID, is something very new. So the county was very recently granted a grant in the amount of $4.7 million, specifically for rental assistance to individuals who are facing homelessness for COVID-related reasons. So this money can be used for rental assistance. It can be used for utilities. We also have a portion of it that can be used for cash assistance for individuals that need that little bit of extra help. So this is something that's very, very new that we're very excited about to be able to provide this additional help for our communities, as we know that they're suffering right now. So I wanted to give information on how to access those services. For those of you all who will be able to watch the Commissioners Court meeting this coming Monday, our Community Services Department is going to be giving a whole presentation, but I did want to share that information at your meeting tonight. And I wanted to give the phone number to the Community Services Department for anyone who needs to reach out to them. So that phone number is 775-2700. And again, we'll have a full presentation on this at our Monday's Commissioners Court meeting, but I just wanted the community to know that this is assistance that's available to them. And then lastly, the last program that I wanted to talk about, I just wanted to make sure that business owners in the Socorro area were aware of the FASTER program that the county implemented last month as well. So this is a program that has different components, but it's basically, again, to help those small businesses in our communities that are suffering and are in need of a little bit of extra help right now because of COVID. So there's different components to the program. There are forgivable low interest loans. That's one component. We also have grants, grants that can help pay for rent, utilities, grants that can help pay for improvements to a business that will help the business provide services in a manner consistent with our COVID restrictions as far as social distancing and sanitizing and all of those types of things. So these are funds, the county set aside $10 million of funds, and the goal is that 60% of those funds will be used for businesses outside of the city of El Paso. If all of those funds aren't used by March 5th, then whatever is left over can be used for businesses within the city of El Paso. But I'm trying to make sure to get the word out to as many businesses as possible outside in the county so that we can make sure that as much of that money gets used by businesses outside of the county as possible. So my office has information on how to access this program. I can give you the website really quickly where businesses can go to actually fill out a small application, a small questionnaire that will then guide them to the program, the component of the FASTER program that can help them the most. And that website is www.epbusinessstrong.org. And all of this information can be obtained from my office. And so I want to give everyone that telephone number as well. It's 546-2144, or we can be emailed at commissioner3@epcounty.com. But again, as I mentioned, these are just some initiatives that the county is working on that I want to make sure our communities out in the county, and particularly in Precinct 3, are aware of, so that folks can take advantage of them. That's what they're here for, to help our communities as we're struggling in these difficult times. So again, thank you for letting me be here with you tonight. I wanted to introduce myself and to welcome the new members of council, and to tell you all that I'm looking forward to working closely with you for the betterment of our communities. And any information that I can provide, any questions that I can answer, I'm happy to do so. Yes.
Ms. Villalobos?
Ms. Olguin Ivan Colombia Lobos. We've spoken before on the phone.
Yes,
Nice to meet you in person.
likewise.
Just a quick comment. Um, and I say this because I just found this out. You know, I have family members in Dallas that are non-essential, that are not over 65, and they have all received their vaccine, their second vaccine already. And I just feel we're not getting our share here in El Paso County. What is it that we can do as a community to start requesting more vaccines, because we're not getting enough?
Yes, yes, no, and that is a huge issue. That is by far the biggest obstacle, is that we do not get enough vaccines for our community. Now, El Paso actually has been doing better than every other city in Texas as far as the level that we're vaccinating our folks at, but it's still very low because we're just not getting enough. So that's something that the county and the city health department are constantly requesting more and more vaccines. And luckily, every week that goes by, we've been able to show that all of the vaccines that they send, we use them. We get those vaccines into folks' arms. And so every week we get a little bit more and a little bit more, but it's still clearly not enough. One of the things that I asked Chief Rodriguez at our meeting last Monday was whether it was still possible for individuals to sign up to be providers of vaccines. And the reason that I asked that is because, unfortunately, in the outlying parts of the county, we don't have very many providers that have signed up to be providers of vaccines. So I wanted to know if it was possible for providers to still sign up, and he told me that it was. So what I plan to do now is try to reach out to organizations that I believe are eligible to be providers and encourage them to do that, because that'll just be another way to get more vaccines apart from what already comes to the city county health department and what comes to UNC. There are some small providers in the area, but not very many, especially in the outlying parts of the county. So that could be something that potentially we could collaborate on, try to figure out who might be able to take on that task of being a provider in the Socorro area, because that would bring vaccines directly to Socorro.
Mr. Duran?
I'm all for it.
Ms. Holguin, how are you doing?
How are you, Mr. Duran?
Election. We had a good time. With regards to providers, I spoke with Robert Campion, who's with Elite Ambulance Service, and he said that his people are more than, he really wants to help out, and they can administer vaccines also.
Oh,
You might
okay.
want to reach out to him. And
Thank
also,
you.
with regard to the business part of the your programs, if a company has already applied through PPP and then the other loans, are they still eligible for the ones from the county?
Yes, yes, they are. Now, the county has a loan program and then it has a grant program. And so folks are still eligible. And if they've received federal funding, they're still eligible. Now, there are some restrictions as far as some of the larger loans for folks who have received federal funding, but that's one of the reasons that it's so important to fill out the questionnaire, because we're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Community Foundation, for example. So they're the ones that are actually administering the program, and they're the ones that can help businesses figure out, yes, for sure, you do qualify and you qualify for this program. And their whole purpose is to try to help people qualify, to find them the program that they qualify for. But yes, it does not make someone ineligible just because they receive federal assistance.
Yeah, because I spoke with Ms. Mares, and she helped out. There's a little daycare that the owner of the shopping center had called me to try and get help for his tenants. He's trying to help them out, but and we did get through Ms. Mares. She got some help there, and I'm just wondering if this can be an addition to that,
Yes,
to try and
yes.
save that small little daycare and the other businesses in that, and not only there, but in the whole city of Socorro.
Yes, and there's grant funding specifically to help pay for rent and utilities.
Great.
That's one of the programs.
They will be calling you tomorrow, I guarantee you. And thank you for letting us know about this information, because this is how we get it disseminated. You give it to us, we give it to them, and they'll make use of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner.
Oh,
We
thank you.
appreciate the information.
Thank you so much, and I look
Mr.
forward
Pettis?
to working with all of you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank
Good
you.
night.
Mayor, and for the record, Mr. Victor Perez joined the meeting at 6:31.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Do we have a
Motion to
motion?
approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 8, introduction, first
Mayor-
reading and call.
Mayor, that's part of the consent. We
Oh,
move on
I'm
to
so sorry.
number 9.
Moving on to our regular agenda. Grants Department, item number 9. Discussion and action to adopt Resolution 633, authorizing the City of Socorro to submit a grant application to the Office of the Governor's Fiscal Year 2020 Operation Stone Garden to fund overtime and equipment for personnel supporting the border initiative. There is no match requirement for this grant.
Motion to approve.
Approve.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alejandro Garcia, Grants Coordinator. This is we're requesting your approval to adopt a resolution authorizing the city to submit this grant application for the FY 2020 Operation Stone Garden. On behalf of the Socorro Police Department, the Socorro Police Department has participated in Operation Stone Garden since fiscal year 2015. They want to continue participating in FY 2020. It is a requirement that we submit this resolution authorizing this grant application, and we are here to request that. We have been approved for approximately $61,000 in funding for Operations Stone Garden, and there is no match for this program.
Excellent, and thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 10, discussion and action to extend the service agreement with the Lower Valley Water District for the COVID-19 Utility Assistance Program through February 28th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is a request to extend the end of the agreement with the Lower Valley Water District. This agreement was approved on December 17th, 2020. And because the Federal CARES Act funding had a previous deadline of December 30th, 2020, we had made the agreement also end, the agreement with the Lower Valley Water District end on that same deadline of December 30th, 2020. Since then, the federal government has extended that deadline to use CARES Act funding from December 30th, 2020 to December 30th, 2021, which now allows us more time to use these funds. We are requesting that extension through February 28th, 2020, so that we can make those payments to the Lower Valley Water District in order to benefit approximately 33 households that have applied for utility assistance funding and have not been able to be approved because there's a limited amount of funds that are available through Project Bravo. This agreement would allow us to pay the Lower Valley Water District directly. I'm not sure if you have any questions.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is just an extension of what we had already established, correct?
Correct.
Ruben
Thank
Reyes,
you.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Moving on to Police Department. Item number 11, discussion and action on approving the purchase of 6 handheld radios in the amount of $26,162.50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. This is a purchase that will be made off a grant that we received earlier in the year. It actually is part of our specialized team equipment purchases that we were successful in obtaining. We will be purchasing from RTC Radio, which is our dealer in the area for this district of El Paso County. We are limited in our choices as far as the radio provider. However, it is on the buy board, so we are getting the best price that we can get. So it will be the Motorola dealer that we go to because the purchase, even though it's a grant, because obviously the purchase price is over the $25,000, then I thought we'd better bring that to council. So I can take any questions on it.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Moving on to Planning and Zoning Department. Item number 12, discussion and action on the preliminary and final plat approval for Haciendas del Valle Unit 1, Replat B, mean Lot 1, Block 3, Haciendas del Valle subdivision located at 470 Valle del Paseo for lot split.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an application for a lot split. Let me show you the location of the property. This property is located off about 500 feet from North Loop. It's at 450 Valle del Paseo in the corner with Hueleca. What happened here is that there's multiple dwellings within the same lot. We're trying to split the property in half to allow the existing buildings to remain. The Planning and Zoning Department and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval with a condition that also a 2.5-foot variance is granted to the building on the left. We did get a letter from the neighbor saying, it's a notarized letter saying that they don't have an issue if the buildings remain as they are. I'm going to show you here's the final plat. And they want to subdivide the property the way you see here in the middle of the line. It's a little jagged line in the middle. This will be lot 1 and lot 2. Both of those lots will have over 10,000 square feet. I don't know if you have any questions about this.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you. So thank you, Joe, for the presentation. So again, the question is, this split meets, well, except for the variance, the lot split meets all the setbacks that we require?
Yes, sir, that's correct. All the buildings here will be, even when they split the property in this jagged line here in the middle, all the buildings will still have the setbacks that are required, except for these 2 little buildings in the left. Because what happened here, let me show you this is the preliminary plat. What happened is that when they built those 2 buildings, they measured it off the fence. Well, when they did the survey out there, turns out that the fence, as you can see, these little X's where the line, this is where the fence is located. It's not on the property line. And they didn't know that until the surveyor went out there to put the property corners, and they found out that they were too close to the property line. That's the reason why they're asking for the variance to allow the buildings to remain. They don't have any intention of adding any more structures or modifying the existing ones. They just they're asking for permission to be allowed to keep buildings that are already erected in the property.
So 2 more questions, if I may. So then I guess like the shed, I guess they look like sheds. Are they legal non-conforming, or will these buildings be legal non-conforming? The other
Yes, sir.
ones?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodarte?
Job, they will be legal non-conforming if the Board of Adjustments approves the variance, correct?
The Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval. They approve the variance and they're recommending to council to approve the variance. So if council approve the variance, yes, they become legal non-conforming.
I thought the variances would only come from the Board of Adjustments.
No, ma'am, how there's an ordinance that also grants power to the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve variances.
Okay.
And that's the reason why the application was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission along with the variance request.
Could that be with any variance?
It's numerical.
I'm sorry?
It's numerical.
What does that
Correct.
mean?
So, but if there's another variance and the Board of Adjustment can't have quorum, could those variances go through the Planning and Zoning and come to council?
No, ma'am, the reason this one went to the Planning and Zoning Commission is because it was related to a plat or a replat. But if it's something else, then it goes through the Board of Adjustments.
Right, I think Job is right. The primary receptor, the primary recipient body for variances is the Board of Adjustment. There's a limited grant of authority to the Planning and Zoning Commission to grant variances if it's in connection with something they otherwise handle, like zoning changes or replats or the like.
Okay, so with that being said, if it is gonna be approved, I would recommend that it's placed as the motion, just so we can have record that this variance was granted. In case in the future, someone disputes it, we can come back and it's in the motion of the minutes.
All right, so I'll go ahead and amend my motion to reflect that along with approving the plat, that the variance required is also approved.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Right.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 13, discussion and action to direct staff to bring recommendation to amend ordinance 481.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Can we have a discussion, please?
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Mike Meehan, the city planner. At our last meeting, we had a discussion about ordinance 481 and how it relates to restrictions of semi trucks and storage containers in agricultural properties. And so with that said, is that I went ahead and did some more investigation with regard to that use and to try to see if we could find a common ground how other municipalities handle this. The reality of it is that throughout the state of Texas is that when it comes to agricultural properties, they're not viewed as subdivisions. And so with that said, it takes on a character of its own. So it's like an industrial zone, like manufacturing. So there is an expectation that when somebody has agricultural property that you're going to find trucks, machinery, crops, and etc. And so with that said, is that if the body wants us to come back with recommendations on how to grant this, either through some type of grandfathering, some type of permitting, certainly we can do that. So I just wanted to give you an update on our last meeting as it relates to what I discovered in the last couple of days.
Mr. Perez?
So then, thank you for saying the meeting, first of all. And I apologize, my dog wants to get into the meeting. So if you hear him barking, it's not me, it's my dog, all right? Very quickly, in terms of the, I guess the question that I have is, should then we develop a distinction between agricultural properties and so that we can, that's defined and maybe accommodate machinery proper to a ranch or farm situation?
Well, I think that's one of the questions that when I was doing this investigation was trying to solve in its relationship to, you know, if the property is zoned for agricultural purposes, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person or that property owner is using it for agricultural purposes. So you could have it zoned as such. And so you can have that property just not being used in that manner. So in the state of Texas, there's great flexibility in relationship to what a farmer is and how big a farm actually is. So one of the things moving forward that we need to justify is that if we're going to have an agricultural property that is zoned, that it is being used for agricultural purposes, that there be some type of demonstration for that. We do have properties throughout the city that are zoned as such. However, they're not being used for farming purposes.
Because I can see that if it is a designated agricultural property, that then it wouldn't justify having the heavy machinery if it's not going to be used for agricultural purposes. Like, and if we're being told it's a farm property and we need the 18-wheeler for specific purposes to the farm, then if nothing's being grown there, then it kind of defeats the purpose, no?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duran?
According to our zoning, well, not the zoning, but the Central Appraisal District, if you do not farm your property within 7 years, you lose your agricultural exemption. And I know that there's a lot of properties that are probably zoned agricultural, but they're not being farmed. And I think that we need to look at their exemption, because if they've got the exemption, then they have to prove that they've farmed within the last 7 years. And we also have to remember, Socorro is still roughly about 50% agricultural. We're not, we're losing the agricultural land little by little as the subdivisions come in. But we still have to remember that the farmers that we have are still a big part of our community. And I think that we need to also look at the ones that are real farmers, which that exemption will prove. Because I know for a fact that if you don't farm and you can't prove it, you lose that agricultural exemption, and then the taxing authority raises your well, they don't raise your tax, but then you lose that exemption, and your taxes go up. So we can just see where the taxes are, see if that exemption is in place on the properties, and then we can go from there and protect our farmers, as well as but I mean, we also have to look, if there's a trucking operation on a farm, we have to look at that too. I think that, like Mr. Perez said, we have to look at the equipment has to be in conformity with what they're doing. You have the big pecan farmers. Well, yeah, they have to haul their pecans away, not in a pickup truck. They're going to do it in a semi. But you can also have a small place that has like 18 trucks that go in and out of there all the time, and that's not a farm. That's a trucking company. So we have to, I guess, tailor the ordinance to differentiate between an actual farm and then an agricultural exemption property with just property that's zoned agricultural. So it's going to be, you're going to have to put some fine wording in there to differentiate between real farms and wannabe farms.
Ms. Villalobos?
You also, thank you, gentlemen, for those two big points. The other point is the real estate point. And that's where I want to come in and say that when we purchase these properties, I purchased my property with agricultural. Unfortunately, when I refinanced it at one point, I had to remove it, and you can't get it back. So, even though we do farm some stuff here, we don't have big equipment at all. It's very minor, but we have to keep that aspect open too, because Some of us buy these properties and it says it's agricultural. Central Appraisal says it's still agricultural, and nobody's been farming for quite some time. 7 years, 10 years. We can't rely on Central Appraisal District, and I'll give you a perfect example. I know somebody that bought a property. Central Appraisal District said it was commercial, had been taxing it as commercial. When they tried to open their commercial business here in Socorro, Socorro said, no, it's residential. So they were not able to open it up as commercial. So again, we can't rely on a Central Appraisal District to be on top of everything. So we have to keep that aspect open too.
Mr. Perez?
I think that and I think that very valid points have been made. So if they need the 18-wheelers, and I'm just using the 18-wheelers as an example, for their farming activities, then they should have a farm that requires them the usage of the 18-wheeler. So then for hauling purposes. So I think that if it would be very evident when a farm only has that has a, like to your point, Ms. Villalobos, you have a small production, so to speak, and you have these semis there that may not be being used, or may not be used for agricultural purposes, but in more commercial purposes. Can I go ahead and amend my motion then at this point, Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
So then I'll go ahead and amend my motion to instruct staff to propose definitions for agricultural properties, and then research, to Mr. Duran's point, about the time or the window for maintaining the agricultural designation. And at that point, so at that point, we can still continue formulating some kind of, I guess, ordinance for that, if that's proper.
Second.
Mr. Rodarte?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I just wanted to add that the community meeting did address some of the other zoning classifications that do trucking as a livelihood. And I don't know if we want to address that or if that's prohibited, ultimately prohibited. If we do desire to do that, I think we should talk about setback requirements, truck idling, and mechanical shop prohibitions. When we do include, we can also introduce like a permit for the damage of the street within the subdivision. I do believe that the R3 subdivisions should be strictly prohibited for these type of, if council wishes, just because they're very, very condensed and it's already a lot of traffic in those areas causing hazard and safety concerns. But I don't know if, so we need clear direction to really understand and amend so we can address the concerns that were brought up during the community meeting.
Mr. Duran?
Yeah, Mr. Perez, I think, could you amend your motion to direct staff to take into consideration all of the comments that were made at that community meeting and try to incorporate those comments into the ordinance, because there was a lot of things brought up, a lot of good points that were brought up by the public. And in regards to setbacks, regards to, truck idling, with regards to trucks in residential areas, just, they know what was brought up, and have them take that into consideration when they come up with the changes to ordinance 481.
So again, I'll amend my motion to include the agricultural considerations, plus the comments made at the public meeting, and to include what Ms. Rodarte stated.
Second.
Ms. Villalobos?
Also, real quick, Ms. Rodarte, if I'm not mistaken, I think for it to be zoned as agricultural, you have to have a number of square feet, which means most likely R3s would never qualify under that. But I believe, Mr. Medina, you'll probably be able to find that information. I just wanted to throw that out.
Thank
But
you.
I'm thinking that what Ms. Rodarte is saying and is that there are different considerations for different types of designations. Like for R1, 2, and 3, you wouldn't have an 18-wheeler parking in an R3 zone because of the density of the area. So I'm thinking that's what we're looking at, right? Más o menos.
Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't, I don't think you could be an R3 and have agricultural. I'm almost positive on that.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Moving on to city manager, discussion and action approving evaluation template for city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The last meeting, we were instructed to, we would stay with template 2. Council was going to review and provide some feedback. I do know Mr. Reyes did provide us some changes that he did to the template. I don't know if you want to elaborate, Mr. Reyes, on the changes you made. We can pull it up on the screen if you would like.
Yes, I don't have it with me, what I wrote down, but I guess we can.
We can pull it up for you. Just
Okay.
one moment. So that is the first.
Well, I wrote down
Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
I wrote down a couple of things that we had discussed on the previous meeting about giving a space for each question. And on this one, I didn't put a comment space for every question, but for every section. I also added the short and long term goals that would be set by council. And I think that was the main things that I kind of added to the second example number 2.
Mr. Perez?
You're
muted,
on
sir.
mute, Mr. Perez.
Thank you. So then I wanted to just add, because I think this is an easy fix. We had talked about for the week comments or the week ranking, like a 1 or 2, actually after each question, putting the rationale for a 1 or a 2. Again, because if we're going to score someone low, whether it's Mr. Rodarte or anyone else, then we need to have justification for doing it. Not just, we need to be able to provide that justification for ranking that person low, so that becomes an area of improvement, and that we can target specifically.
Mr. Reyes?
That was actually added in the example, and it just says anything under 3, which would be 1 and 2. You gotta write down an example of why you're giving that score.
The reason why I suggested after each question is so that if it's when you don't, it's very easy to, well, this is my opinion. If you have it just as a generic statement or an overall statement, then it doesn't hit to the heart of the matter in terms of why you scored someone low. For example, and so then if we have very quickly, and on this sample, does the city manager keep you informed in a timely manner of the things you want to know about? And let's just say that for this city manager, whomever it is, I put a 2. And so I think that if I should be able to have a comment line after that first question and put, the city manager has had 3 occasions in which, or 4 occasions in which they did not provide information, and then put the dates. And then that way it reflects why I place a low ranking for that particular question. So then and going back and formulating as a council, formulating targets for improvement, that becomes it's very clear as to why I mark that person low. That would be my rationale for that.
Ms. Villalobos?
I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. Continue, and if I remember, I'll come back. I decided to read what I think we should all look at this a little bit closely before we vote today. I didn't realize you had changed. Did you, Mr. Reyes, did you change the wording? Is that what you did? Every page that you presented?
Just on the first page and in the comment section. That was kind of the comment section, and then the last page, it does add the short and long-term goals.
But basically everything else did you copy and paste? Is that what you did, or?
Yeah, I just got the one we had kind of agreed on,
Okay,
which was
gotcha.
example number 2, and I just went with that one.
Gotcha, okay.
And we need a motion, please.
Mr. Duran?
I'm still, let me, just from experience, I still think we need to hear from department heads. Reason being is, many years ago, none of you or maybe Mr. Perez will probably remember, our police department was in such disarray. A couple of members of the police department had reached out to me about what was going on. There was a lot of illegal activity, and we brought it out and it stopped. And I think that, granted, right now, I'm sure everybody's very happy, but we need to put something in place just in case something like that were to happen again. These department heads would not be in fear of losing their job for bringing out something that they felt was illegal or unethical or whatever. They do need if chain of command, the person they have to, complain to is the city manager. Well, the city manager is the one that they want to complain to about. Not in this case, I'm sure that, but I think the mechanism needs to be there, because a lot of things that were happening back then, there was inspections that were not being done because of the city manager said, don't do them. There was police department, there were quotas being made when they were being told to do them. And all of this kind of thing, those were the dark days. But had they not been able to reach out, they probably would still be going on today. And I think that we just need to have that mechanism for department heads to be able to reach out to council in case they feel that something is not going on or going on that they feel is not proper. I mean, I'm just throwing that out. We can, that's in the world that we don't live in right now. But what if it does happen and they don't have the mechanism to stop anything illegal that's being done?
Ms. Villalobos?
Mr. Duran, major companies have what they call an open door policy. That's what it's called for the employees. And I think it's a great mechanism and it's a great tool, and it should come to council, or mayor and council. It should, but I don't know that this should be part of this item. It should be an open door policy that we make as a separate item. And it does open, this policy is let me see, it's to encourage, really, to encourage the employees that we're here for them, and that they feel that they can express themselves without feeling that they can't because, whatever the case might be. So I think it's a great idea, but I don't know, we should incorporate it with Mrs. Rodarte's evaluation, because eventually we're gonna have the complaints, or it's not just for complaints, you guys. It's also to praise somebody. It's for many things. We could do it as a comment or concern or idea, and the person responsible for this, or for getting all this, would be probably mayor, and she can transfer it. And I don't know how you feel about that, mayor, but transfer to everyone else. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Mr. Perez?
In the last meeting, I mentioned that in terms of what the perception of the department heads is, and we can do that through a survey. That was one. Two, I believe that if there are complaints, and I think that even the department heads are they under, can they go through civil service for anything that, as far as complaints are concerned?
No, the only department head that is protected by civil service is the chief of police. However, no department head can be terminated without council's approval.
So then the dispute, so to speak, if there was a dispute, would come to us anyway, and we would hear it out, correct?
Correct. Mayor, Chief would like to say something.
Go ahead, Chief Burton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mr. Duran, I appreciate your comments regarding past activity. Let me just satisfy everybody to the fact that if I find anything illegal by anyone in the city, they're getting arrested. So that's the end of that. I don't care who you are. Second of all, though, let me just, and Attorney Martinez, please step in here. But department heads would have federal protection under the whistleblower statute. Is that correct? Attorney Martinez?
Jim?
You're on mute, sir.
I couldn't hear that, Chief. Can you repeat that?
So if any department head came forward with any type of illegal activity or unethical activity, they'd get federal protection under the whistleblower statute. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
No, it depends. It depends on, I mean, in theory, yes, but in practice, no. It depends on exactly what they report, and more importantly, it depends on what, if any, action they allege is taken against them in retaliation. You don't really have protection as a whistleblower until there's some kind of adverse action taken against you.
Mr. Duran?
I agree with Ms. Villalobos. I think that this is a separate item. I think we need to move on with with what we have in front of us, and then we can bring it. I'll second it, or you can second it. I'll bring it to council. We can discuss that on a separate occasion, and bring in that open door policy type.
So can I go ahead and make a motion, please, to approve the template, the evaluation tool that was proposed by Mr. Reyes, but can we also include the sections after each item for low ratings, for rationales for ones and twos?
Second.
Can we add to go ahead and not only just your verbiage, but also if you have emails or exhibits that they are attached to this what is it called, the evaluation?
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and amend my motion to also include, along with the rationales for ones and twos after each statement, that also that evidence is provided, whether it's in electronic or hard copy form.
Second.
Ms. Rodarte?
Mayor and Council, and I just wanted to add that today, actually, I requested a report from TML on any open liability claims that the city has for auditing purposes. And I'm glad to say we are at 0. I think in the history of Socorro, that is not likely to say, but we do have 0 open claims at this time.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Mayor, we do have a speaker for this item, Alejandro Garcia.
So, the question about subordinates, we do have an HR director that's their job. That's what they do. Now, the problem is, didn't Mr. Duran and former Mayor Garcia were investigated for this exactly, so there is a process, there is things that are in place. They were also investigated for this. So the subordinates did pay a complaint to who they needed to, and it worked. So those are things that I think, the things that Mr. Duran wants to add are the blueprint to get Ms. Durante fired. So those are things that we have to see, and you're trying. This is a perfect blueprint to what you want to do to your or don't want to do, but you want to get in, department heads, and department heads could be reprimanded by Ms. Durante, things like that. So I believe that we should have an HR manager here to tell us exactly what we need to do, because then you're jumping over the bosses of who needs to be a boss and who doesn't need to be the boss. Okay? Thank you very much.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 15, discussion and action to authorize city manager to give approval to proceed to the consulting firm, the Forma Group, with the city of Socorro legislative testimony when time constraints do not allow the consultants and liaisons to meet.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, we are under the legislative session. Those items move extremely quickly. On January the 23rd, we received notice that there was going to be a special meeting, a special testimony hearing regarding redistricting. I did, and that was on a Saturday. So I did reach out to our committee to receive a response. Unfortunately, it's through email and it's on the weekend. Didn't receive a response. They provided a draft of a testimony that we approved, and they testified Monday the 25th at 9 a.m. I just want to make sure that if the committee can't meet, that I am authorized to be able to give what's in the best interest of the city to proceed, approval to proceed, in order for us not to lose momentum. And the testimony was more of redistricting. We don't want to lose the representation we already have, and that could have been a possibility. I do know Cesar Blanco, the representative, did start with some of our testimony that was submitted to them. And then we had a meeting to be able to update council. I also sent a notification today if we can meet for an overview of next Wednesday. So I am still waiting Mr. Duran's email confirmation just so we can meet next Wednesday, so we can provide an overview to the committee.
I'll be there.
Ms.
I'll send you the
Villalobos?
Zoom information.
And thank you, Ms. Rodarte, and I concur with what she's saying. It does move fairly quickly. Sometimes they give you a day or two, and we might not be even meeting before we come to you guys to ask for, or to council to ask for permission. And I believe that the 6 items that were 6 items, Ms. Rodarte, 6, I think it's 6 items, are very good items. We got some really good feedback on some of those items, whether, they gave us their honesty, whether, they're items that are just in the back burner and nobody really wants to touch them. But I think there was 3, they asked us for 3 strong ones. I can't think of the 3 that are in front of me, but if you have a Ms. Rodarte, you can certainly tell them those 3 items that we asked them to start reviewing for us and getting us feedback.
Correct. So that was actually approved through the lobbying agenda that was brought to you 2 council meetings ago. And we're just focusing on making sure that we have a voice at the legislative session. It's very different this time around. So the testimony again, they have to post a couple of hours in order to meet the public restrictions. Um, that agenda was posted on a Friday. We drafted on a Saturday. By Sunday, they needed approval. I wasn't receiving a response. I did reach out, and then I proceeded with, allowing them to testify Monday morning at 9 a.m. But all of it is in the best interest of what we're looking for. I think we all share the same vision, and please know that it'll always be in the best interest of the city.
Mr. Duran?
Mr. Larte, in the future, please, if I don't respond from the email, the last time I responded to your email, my phone got hacked and I had a Trojan in there and all kinds of nasty things happened. If I don't respond, just, I've got several phone numbers, just call me.
Yes, sir.
You don't,
I did try
I will
calling you all on the city cell phone. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful.
call me on my personal phone. I have that with me sometimes. And my city phone is still, I've gotten already some more suspicious messages on there and phone calls. I'm really afraid to open it now because the last time I was, you saw what happened. And I don't want, and had I opened that on my computer, Esteban told me that it would have corrupted the entire thing because, and then anybody that got anything from me, they would have it too.
Yes.
I mean, the
I
city's
just
been infected, so use the old-fashioned landline and just reach out to me that way. If I don't answer you right away, please just call me on my personal phone.
Smoke
I
signal.
would feel more
Thank
comfortable
you.
just if I have the authorization, if I can't reach them through city email or city cell phone, that we can proceed, and then we would update them as soon as they become available. Since I don't have everyone's personal cell phone number.
I will provide you with mine.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran?
Yes.
Victor Perez?
Aye.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos.
Yes.
Item number 16, discussion and action to approve District 2 Representative Ralph Duran and District 4 Representatives Yvonne Colombia Lobos to travel for the 87th Legislative Session.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. During our meeting with the committee, it was discussed that sometimes you do have to, meet and greet and network with these key players that make decisions on how to move forward with, items that are placed on the agenda.
I think it's
So
called
one of
schmoozing.
I'm sorry?
I think it's called schmoozing.
And so I know that it was discussed and it was in our best interest if Ms. Colombia Lobos and Mr. Duran can, if our lobbying group is able to set up a meeting with these legislative candidates, that we're able to travel, well, they're able to travel and get to meet with them face to face. I'm sorry, I'm
Mr. Duran?
I agree with you because it's very hard to tell somebody no to their face, but it's very easy to tell them no in an email or on the telephone. But when they're right in front of you, it is very hard. But I would ask that if we're going to be flying, that the city does provide us with and I spoke to a doctor and Mr. Campion about this, the 3M elastomeric face mask. They filter out 99.997% of pathogens. And we all know that Southwest Airlines is back to the cattle type airline where you just pack them in as close as you can. And that way it'll protect both of us from either contacting the COVID-19 or, God forbid, we're infected, we spread it. So that's the only thing that I would like is we both be provided with that type of mask. Could you, amend your motion? Did you make it, Mr. Perez?
I think so. So I'll go
To-
ahead and amend my motion to include the approval and the mask as described by Mr. Duran
It's the 3M elastomeric.
for both travelers.
Second,
And we have a speaker for this item, Alejandro Garcia.
I think this is great. I think we need to do this. I just wish we had better ambassadors of the city of Socorro because sometimes, it is what it is. And sometimes even with item 18 or things that we talked about already, it's just I wish the ambassadors sometimes doesn't get back to the checkered things that we're doing in Socorro. So, but I think it's a great idea that to help us move in the right direction. Thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent, Ralph Duran,
yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colombia Lobos.
And just to answer Mr. Garcia real quick, Mr. Garcia, Forma is going to be with us. So they're the experts. They're going to teach us the ropes. And I know, Mr. Duran, I know that you're probably in the same boat as I am, but we are eager to go out there, learn their ways, learn the ways, and be the great ambassadors that we need to be. Yes.
Mr. Duran?
Well, I was just gonna reiterate what Ms. Villalobos said. Between who she knows and who I know, and I'm gonna introduce her to everybody that I know, and she's gonna introduce me to everybody that she knows, and we're gonna get a lot of things done for the city of Socorro as a united front, not as just sending people up there. Like I said, it's very hard to say we're gonna be in front of these people, and it's gonna be very hard for them to tell us no because I know Ms. Villalobos and she knows me. We don't take no for an answer. We will be very, very, how can I put it without being rude? Um, Forceful in promoting our city. Thank you.
Item number 17, discussion and action on upcoming safety education campaign.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This was inspired by, I don't know if you all recall, a couple years ago, we had Work Zone Willie. If you don't, let me share my screen. That's Work Zone Willie. He was at near our recycling center. I don't know if you all recall, but we have been receiving different complaints on speeding throughout the city. I do know that part of our recommendations are the guardrails to see if we can put any type of traffic devices out in the field. So we were talking about presenting, hold on, I'm sorry, presenting our own Work Zone Willie, but put it out to the public. We do have a grant that has artists. This is kind of like our idea. Let me show you. Hold on, sorry. So we are known for tires here in the city of Socorro. So we came up with a concept, something to, this was the inspiration. And I do know that Andy did share a different type of concept,
That
very
looks like the
similar but
robot. That
different.
looks like the. I'm sorry. That looks like the robot from Lost in Space from the '60s.
Well, and
I
then
mean,
we would get,
it looks good. It's
so
nice.
we
Don't get
would
me
get
wrong.
our
It's nice.
youth involved to be able to paint the tires. We could be able to change, make the, I call her Slow Down Sally. That was my idea, Slow Down Sally. She'll be able to move her hands and then put a sign depending if we're having an event, whatever's going on in the city, but it would be our own Work Zone Willie. And hopefully the word would spread and people would come and visit our city just to be able to see slow down Sally. Not really. That was just my name, but we will allow the public and our youth to be able to name this concept. Right now, we're calling him the safety soldier. And this is just part of an education campaign. Of course, we would still add the guardrails, the traffic signs, and all of the above. But I think it would be something where we could be able to capture audience and really, let them know, slow down, or if we're having different issues throughout the city, we can use it as a tool. Some people don't have social media platforms that they log into. But I do know if anybody's going to the doctors and they pass through, this will catch their eye. I do know, Alejandra, I don't know if you want to share anything.
I just wanted to add that we're very excited to have the youth that are participating in the youth art program to assist with this. We believe that by allowing the youth to decorate their own tire with their family, it allows the whole family to become engaged, more parents, and then they can also share this with their family and be proud of what their kids are contributing to. And it'll help us also get that message to a bigger audience if we get our own community involved.
Mr. Duran?
This is a really, really good idea. Especially, I think we could take Slow Down Sancho and whatever we name them. And wherever we have people that, where the police tell us that a lot of people are running the stop signs, put him right next to or her, I don't want to be sexist, put them right where we have problems with people running stop signs. It'll make people think. I know Circle K for the longest time had police cutouts in their stores, and shoplifting was reduced tremendously. All you have to do is get people to think about stopping. And if we can, like you say, there's well, next time we have a tire roundup, let's take all those tires and make as many of these as we can, and not just leave them in one place, but move them around the city.
Yes.
And then, like I said, I love the idea of having community members name them. You already got my name, okay? So we can name them, and then we can put that name on the tires. That's the name, and it was, just give the person a little bit of recognition. They won the contest to name it, and this is the outcome. And we don't have to have just one. We can have several of them.
Yeah.
And it's not like we won't have enough tires. At the next tire roundup, we just, Andy's really good. And if we want to get them painted, I know one of the owners of Sherwin-Williams, I can see if he will donate paint to the youth artist, whatever that is. See if we can get paint donated for free. That way, it'll be a win-win situation. We get used tires off of our ditches and from dumping sites, and then turn them into something worthwhile for the city.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you. So then I think that, I apologize again for my dog. I don't know what's going on. As far as, I think if we started with at least two, so that if it's for an event, it'll be on both sides of traffic, so that at least for that. So I would like to see if we could maybe even up it to two, robots or whatever we want to call them.
Okay.
I'd like to see a lot more than two. I'd like to see, a bunch of them. And then when we have our when back to when we are able to have events, have them at the front, all over the place, and then put them back out on the streets.
Ms. Villalobos?
You're muted, ma'am.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
I got so excited. I wanted to tell you, I love this idea. I completely love it. Number one is super inexpensive. It's going to be, I know it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a niche that the city here in El Paso County does not have, that I've seen. And so I want to just thank those that brought the idea, or that one person for thinking outside the box. And I would love to see them especially the places that we get all regularly. And Ms. Rodarte, you know those places in my district, Miriam's district, where Ms. Cruz lives. I think it would help tremendously. I really do. And again, I hope that there's more than one. I hope they're everywhere. Thank you.
Ms. Rodarte?
I do feel we should start with only one or two, just to really make a footprint, and it doesn't lose what we're actually trying to do in the area. Because once it moves, and then people will follow it, hey, go see that area, and people will slow down. I think it would make a better impact. And then in the future, we can start adding more once we've already made that impact in the community. That's just my personal opinion, but really it's up to council what you all want to do.
Mr. Perez?
So then, I guess I did understand that, if you could explain it. So then families would, they would be selected to paint the tire, or how would that work? I'm still kind of not too clear on that.
Yes, so we'll let Alejandra take that one.
Yes, so we have youth that are already participating in the art program. Those youth would be contacted and then invited to come in and pick up a tire. Our Public Works Department would, of course, pressure clean the tire ahead of time. They would take it home. We would ask that they decorate half of the tire with a solid color that we will tell them which color to use. And the back of the tire, we're thinking we may give them flexibility to be creative in the back. That way there's two sides of the soldier, and the family can come out and take pictures and be proud and point out the tire. That's my son's artwork. Hopefully share it themselves on social media. We can get more clicks and more views, and also bring the families out to the site to spread that message of public safety, and also the second message of not dumping our tires, reduce, reuse, and recycle, because this will be a recycled material sculpture. So there's a lot of benefits to this project.
Ms. Villalobos?
And along from all this, can we do something like this for Christmas? I mean, we have 12 months or 11 months. You guys think about Christmas and the tree, and we can put lights and, that kind of stuff. Think about that. Thank you.
Yes, and the color scheme that we're trying to stick to is like City of Socorro colors. That way, it represents us, right? And the tires, I mean, we're pretty much known for tires, so we're just sending a very, very strong message.
Is that a good thing? No? I mean,
Hey, it's our own unique good thing. We're making it a bad into a good. So
I agree.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
thank you.
Yes.
Moving on to mayor and council, item number 18, discussion and action on conducting a study and cost analysis on a section of Regina Drive for the paving completion of the road.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Ms. Villalobos?
Okay. Do we have any speakers for this item?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
How many?
3.
3. Okay. I don't know if we should wait so we could hear all comments, or just me explaining why I brought this item.
Well, we usually have them speak before our vote.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, ma'am.
We have them speak before the vote?
No, I understand, but I'm asking council. Do you want to hear from them first, or do you want to hear from me first?
I think we should let them speak.
Yeah. Then we should let them speak.
Okay, go right ahead.
Our first speaker is Diana Nunez.
Hi, good afternoon. So I did see this agenda item, and I actually have a couple of questions. I've been doing a lot of research lately and just trying to get, I guess, some concrete information, to do everything the proper way within the city. Now, I would actually like to hear why this agenda item was added. Was it because somebody brought it up? Is it a concerned citizen or a resident from the city? Just to kind of help me understand the need for it. I spoke a little bit earlier as far as like what needs we have in another neighborhood. And I feel that, I would love to know if there's been any incidents, any reported, something that we have documentation of in this road to make it a priority versus, Santa Paula, where there's reports, there's police reports, there's evidence, there's property damage, there's photos. I just don't want that to get lost. So I feel like I drove down the road today. So I would like to know exactly what it is that's being asked for because the street itself looks like it's paved. I would like to know from council if they know when the last time it was updated because it doesn't look like it's been, that long. So I don't know if that's some information that you have, like when was the last time it was updated?
Ms. Nunez, your time is up.
Thank you.
Alejandro Garcia.
So to me, this is profit over people. We're in a pandemic right now. I think somebody else is putting themselves first before the city. We should be rushing even more to get vaccinations here. We should get food pantries here. We should spend money on that. To answer your question, ma'am, it was already paved in 2015. There's 500 streets before that are in front of this street or they already got repaved. There's no need. And this is, I think, I hate to say this, but there's money to be made here. And that's the problem with this item. And that's what I have a problem with. This shouldn't even come up. This should be with a list. We're always asking for a list. And this is not emergency. I hope that this item doesn't get approved because this is illegal. This is corruption at its best. And if this gets approved, I think we should have a recall or people resigning because this is insane. There is a pandemic going on, and we always think about is making money off the residents of Socorro, and we shouldn't have that. Thank you.
René Rodríguez.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we paved this in 2015. I took a drive today. Did you guys take a drive down that street today? Because this is absurd, this is obnoxious, this is rude, and this is disrespectful to the rest of the residents who need repavement, who need overlays for their streets to be paved. Just because somebody wants their mail to be closer, well, move your mailbox closer to the street. That's all it is. Go look at it. Go look at it. I went, I took pictures, video on that. That's all it is. This is just payback, man. This is just what it is. Call it for what it is. We had this discussion before with Sergio Cox, and that's why he resigned, because we were going to lynch him. Did we forget that? So here we go again. Here we go again. You guys should be better than that. You guys should know better than that.
Mr. Perez?
I think that this, like any other street, should be placed on the prioritization list that we have. Allow the staff to do what they need to do in terms of rating it, and then putting it accordingly to the already prioritized streets that we have. We already have an ongoing list, and so wherever that street falls in terms of the need to repave, I'm not for denying repaving the street if it's necessary, but we have a process in place for prioritizing that. And so I think that we should be consistent with doing that. And that's, at this point, I'd like to amend my motion to deny this, to amend my motion to place the street on the prioritization list.
Second.
Ms. Villalobos?
Okay, so number one, let's get this straight. Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Garcia, you should know me better. You know I'm gonna check first before I put anything on the item or bring it up. I asked Mr. Nevares and he never responded. I texted and emailed and called him. He never responded. This is his district, okay? I know why you guys are all, saying that this is corruption because of Mrs. Friday and that there's money to be made here. I have disclosed to the city manager, and I have spoken in the past to Mr. Martinez, and I have an email. I will cross my T's and my I's and dot my I's before anything, okay? And you, Mr. Rodriguez, I am shocked that you would say anything, that the Cox, and it has nothing to do with Mr. Cox. Mrs. Friday is still a constituent. And furthermore, if you had read what I had put on there, is I got a complaint from a gentleman anonymously. I don't know who he is, and he could care less about who Lorenza Friday is. Seriously. He gave me a list of stuff. Mrs. Rodarte has worked on some of the items, and he did talk about the road, and his neighbor did also say that the mailman has told them repeatedly, those potholes are a danger to their vehicles and to themselves, to the mail carrier. This is why I attached the letter that it states that they will not deliver mail because of the potholes. Now, we're not asking to get repaved. You guys didn't read it. We are asking for the street, well, not we, the constituent that put the complaint. They are asking for it to be finished because when they added that street, they only did the middle part. They didn't, it was a full street. They tore it apart and they only did a middle strip. They didn't even finish corner to corner, or it was just a middle strip down the road. Now, on the sides, you have a lot of city right. And yes, some of those mail boxes around the mailboxes are potholes. And those are the potholes that the mailman is, the letter is from the post office. So it's not like, it's saying that they will not deliver mail. Okay. Now, city manager said that our city can go out there, and because it is their right of way, and continue to cover the potholes. But is that feasible for the city? Seriously, is that feasible for the city? Or can we just finish the sides so that we can get the mailman to carry the mail out there? Now, we are asking for a discussion and action to give us a cost analysis. We're not, you guys jumped the cart here. And my understanding from the city manager is that Grijalva is going through the same thing with the post office. This has nothing to do with anything else that you guys have come up out here and said, that this is political. It has nothing to do with that. We are all still constituents, number one, okay? The fact that Mr. Nevares did not want to get involved, that just left, some of us that do want to get involved with everybody and anybody to do what we need to do, the right thing. And Mr. Martinez, are you still there? Because I don't see you.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Can you please tell these gentlemen that we still have to conduct business, regardless of who brings the item to the table or who requests? I will put anybody's request on the table. This has nothing to do with any political gain here. And furthermore, I will tell you, gentlemen, that I told everybody that I was going to say this to the people that I already spoken to. I was the listing agent for some property on Regina. I am no longer that listing agent. That expired last month, or the month before, I'm sorry, 2 months before. I'm no longer the listing agent on that area. However, I'm still a councilwoman, and the complaint came from an individual that won't give me his information, but he gives me a long list of stuff that I've given to Mrs. Rodarte. So I just wanted to clarify that there is no, the past is not here. It's a person that's working, that's trying to work. And Mr. Martinez, will you please let everyone know that just because I place an item, or I didn't, mayor placed the item, but just because I seconded does not mean that I'm trying to be corrupt here.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything about seconding an item that in and of itself is an indicia of corruption.
Right, right. And the fact that I no longer have that listing, and this constituent is, these constituents, I mean, I spoke to several of the constituents there, and they all have the same view. They just feel that the city doesn't do anything about this. This is not the first time they've brought up this item. It wasn't on it has not been since I've been councilwoman. So this thing about, corruption, because I know Mrs. Friday, and because she has helped me in the past with my campaign. And I was her listing agent for her and several other, and you know about that because I sent you an email. Several other sellers there had nothing to do with it. Mr. Martinez?
Duran?
No, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we did. I do believe you called me about this, and I do think you sent me an email. My memory is you asked me if there was anything nefarious about you simply placing it on the agenda, and I believe my answer was simply placing it on the agenda. No, again, in and of itself, that act is not inherently improper.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Mr. Duran?
I did drive that street today, and the street is in very good condition from what I saw. But what I did see was trucks, semi-trucks at the end of the street. Now, if we're going to spend the money to repair a street just to have it torn up again by semi-trucks, we need to take care of the problem first of those semi-trucks. Here we're talking that other ordinance 481 of stopping semi-trucks from being in residential areas. That is a residential area. We need to look at that first, and I am in total agreement with Mr. Perez that we cannot jump people around just because the squeaky hinge gets the oil. They need to be in the same, if it's a number 5, yeah, let's fix it. But if it's a number 1 or 2, I don't know, maybe I'm in reverse, but if it's in need and the city has made that recommendation, yeah, let's do it. But if it's not, and the city's not made that recommendation, I don't see we should be jumping around just because somebody complains. And it does look like it is a political favor, even if it's not, but we have to look at how it looks like, so I'm in agreement with Mr. Perez.
Ms. Villalobos?
So again, gentlemen, you're not understanding. We're not asking for the street to be repaved. We're asking it to be, not we, but the constituent, that I think we're losing it here. They're asking for it to be finished because did you guys see the report where it states that the county was responsible for maintaining, did you guys read the report? Maintaining the street. And of course, before it was cut up, it was completely paved, 100%. Like the whole thing was paved, all the way to the property lines. Okay, so it says that the county has to maintain it. Of course, this is when it wasn't incorporated. Now that it's incorporated, it's the city's responsibility, and those are the arguments that the constituents are making. One other thing that we did not address because we forgot to put it on there is Regina and Rachel meet, and the water is coming straight down from Rachel into a property. So he decided to build a little molehill of dirt so the water doesn't go into his property. But that area keeps sinking in little by little each year. We forgot to mention that. So, but again, we're asking we're not asking for you to approve and get it and finish it, but to actually do a cost analysis. And yes, for our city to go out there and review it. And how dare anybody say that it looks like it might look like it. It doesn't matter. You guys know me. I'm everybody's friend. I'm not going to play that political view or that political anything. I'm not. I'm sorry. It needs to stop. We're a new council. We need to move forward. And so, and I'm sorry that Mr. Nevares did not want to get involved. You know, that's really all I can say, because I wanted him to, it was his district. He should know what's going on. Thank you.
Mr. Duran?
When on another item, the people at Half Moon and that street, those streets over there, the constituents actually came to talk. Where are the constituents that want to talk about this? We haven't heard from nobody that lives on Regina. We just hear about anonymous. Well, I'd like to hear from the people that live there.
I would love to hear from him too. I would love for him to come here.
But,
I told him.
but they're not here. So we cannot go on anonymous.
We can't go that way either. We have to.
They have to come here and they have to talk to us. So I think
There's no rule against that. There's no rule for that.
May I finish, Ms. Villalobos, please?
Okay, one at a moment, one at a time, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
One at a time.
Thank you. What I would like to see is because I don't see in this report anywhere of what the numerical number is for being repaired, for the condition of the street. And that is up to our city planner. Let's leave it up to him. Let's not get into, and if the people on that street have a problem, let them come to council. Let them be the one to tell us. That's just what I would like to hear.
I believe we've had many anonymous requests from different areas of the city. It's not just from this specific area. And again, stating that this is some political, whatever you want to call it, it's incorrect. It's just preposterous. That's what it is. Basically, the residents of this community just want their street repaved on the sides that weren't finished. This is not repaving the whole street. First of all, it's not even a repaving. It's to approve a study and a cost analysis. That's what we're asking for here. And the constituents that we all serve, that's what we're asking for. That's what they're asking for you to decide to help them out so that their mail can be delivered. Thank you. Do we have any more speakers?
Just real quick, Mr. Duran, real quick. We spoke to constituents, okay? We were gonna get a petition going, but I believe city manager said we probably didn't need one. So is that correct? I don't wanna say something that's not correct.
No, ma'am, we never talked about a petition.
Okay, alrighty, I'm sorry. But anyways, we were gonna get a petition going because, and I thought, I strongly suggested that so you could see that the constituents are tired of having to put dirt after, every single time and pave their, not pave, make their mailboxes accessible to the mailman. At this point, I didn't ask them if the mail is still on hold and they have to go pick it up at the post office. But we're not here or there. We were asking for a cost analysis, and I agree with Mr. Perez. I mean, if you guys agree, then we would, if it's agreed upon, then they would probably get put on the list. We're not asking for special treatment or for them to be paved immediately, just to get put on that list if it's needed.
Mr. Reyes?
And we ask for that cost analysis and have Public Works go and see what it needs to be done to get it fixed.
Mr. Perez?
I think that, and I apologize again for the dog. I think that it would be, I think we're kind of spinning our wheels at this point, because if the whether it's a street, which is a minor repaving or whatever the case may be, whatever the project turns out to be, if we put it on the list as the process that we have already, I think it'll get done either way. It's just a matter of making sure that we budget correctly. And I think that that's where we're, at least for me, I think that we just should, if we're going to be consistent with the processes that we've established in the past, I think that it's not, or rather, it's reasonable to just place the street on the list and then allow the staff to do what they need to do to accomplish it.
Mr. Duran?
Yeah, I think that going out and doing a cost analysis right now is spinning our wheels. Because if it's not going to be done soon, prices change. So let's let the city planner do his job. And when this project comes up, then we go out and find out how much it's going to be. And then they can do the in the order, because the entire, like Mayor said, she gets a lot of complaints. Well, the whole city has got a lot of potholes. They got a lot of streets that need repaving. They got the overlays. So I think I am in total agreement with Mr. Pettis. Let's let them do their job, and our job is to just we've already given them what to do, which is go through the streets, find out what their numeric is, and then fix them as needed, as we can.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colombia Lopez.
You're muted,
Mute.
ma'am.
I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Motion passes.
Do we have a motion to delete items 19 through 21?
Motion made.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourns at 8:13 p.m.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm so
We need a
sorry.
vote.
I forgot the
Ruben
vote.
Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colombia Lopez.
Yes.
Okay. Meeting adjourns at 8:13
Good
p.m.
night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Good
everybody. Be
night.
safe.
Okay,
Stay
bye-bye.
Be
safe.
careful. Bye.